Hi, Mary. Welcome to our confession show. You mentioned that today you're going to share the biggest event in your life. Now, our audience and I are all ears.
Hi, today I'm going to share the biggest regret of my life. You might not believe it, but I'll tell you how the man I called my husband deceived me for 15 years, leaving me and my children homeless. I loved him, believing he was a good man, but what he did destroyed our lives. And it took me 15 years to realize it. The day I met Ryan was at a cafe where I had joined some friends. Ryan was at the table behind ours, and we locked eyes. His charm caught my attention instantly, but what really impressed me was when he confidently came over and introduced himself. He had an incredible self-assuredness. That day he spoke about his work, his devotion to his family, and his goals in life. Everything he said sounded so genuine and consistent that I never doubted he was a good man. Our relationship progressed quickly. Ryan didn't just win my heart, he also won over my family in no time. My mom said, "He's going to make a great husband and father." My dad admired his business acumen and outlook on life. My family's approval reassured me even more. When Ryan proposed 3 months into our relationship, I didn't hesitate to say yes. Everything moved so fast. The first few years of our marriage were like a dream. Ryan was a dedicated man. He woke up early for work and seemed excited to spend time with me when he came home in the evenings. He often surprised me with small gestures, sometimes with my favorite flowers, other times saying, "Let's eat out tonight," and taking me to dinner. Over time, Ryan's work life became more intense. He said his business was expanding and that he was building new connections. At first, I was proud of him. My husband was smart and successful, but his increasing workload started casting shadows over our relationship. I began eating dinner alone. He'd come home late, usually engrossed in his phone. One night, a message on his phone caught my eye. It contained an address and said, "Everything will be ready tomorrow night." When I asked him about it, he said, "It's work-related," and quickly deleted the message. That was the first time I felt something was off. But then I blamed myself. Maybe I'm overstepping, I thought. As Ryan's business trips and meetings became more frequent, my world shrank to raising our kids and managing the house. We had 2 children, Ethan and Zoe. They were too young to understand their father's hectic work life, but I couldn't shake a lingering unease. There was a disconnect between the life Ryan described and the reality I was living. One day, I found the courage to check Ryan's phone. Normally, I'd never do such a thing, but my suspicions were eating me alive. His phone was full of strange messages and conversations with people whose names I didn't recognize. Some were women, but most were filled with business jargon, delivery, payment, placement. I couldn't make sense of it, but it was clear this wasn't just innocent work talk. My doubts multiplied. What is he up to? I wondered, but couldn't figure it out. A few weeks later, I discovered a black bag in Ryan's car. When I opened it, I found a large amount of cash and some unidentified cards. That day, I confronted him. "Ryan, what is this? Why are you hiding things like this?" I asked. But Ryan, as calm as ever, said, "Cash is just more convenient for certain deals," and hugged me, adding, "I'm always honest with you. It hurts me that you doubt me." That was the first time I realized Ryan was lying to me. But I didn't know what to do. We had 2 children, and I still loved him. I thought I couldn't leave him. Besides, I couldn't even accuse him because I didn't fully understand what he was involved in. The final blow came one night when I saw a news report about a nationwide operation against a criminal organization. When I heard Ryan's name mentioned, I dropped the teacup I was holding. Suddenly, everything made sense. The suspicious messages on his phone, the late-night meetings, the bag in his car. It was all lies. I didn't report Ryan to the police, but it didn't take long for them to raid our home and expose everything. Ryan was involved in money laundering and smuggling. When he was arrested and taken away, our children cried watching him go. That's when I realized our lives would never be the same again. Our belongings, house, car, and bank accounts were seized. We were suddenly homeless. I couldn't even be angry at myself for not seeing the truth sooner. There I was, on the street with 2 small children. We were evicted from our home. That was the hardest day of my life. My family lived in another state. We had no one to turn to. That night, we stayed in a park where my kids could play. They were confused, asking me questions I couldn't answer. "Mom, why are we here? Who are those men? Why did they take us out of our house?" I tried so hard not to cry in front of them. I needed to be strong. I did my best to shield them from the reality, but the truth was unavoidable. We were homeless. The next day, my family came to our rescue and rented us a small place. My kids and I moved into an old, tiny house. The luxurious life I had with Ryan was long gone, but more importantly, my trust and mental health were shattered. I sought therapy and slowly started to rebuild myself because what we went through was far from easy. While Ryan was in prison, I filed for divorce, but even that turned into a battle. Ryan kept trying to control me, sending threatening letters and insisting through his lawyers that he wanted to see the kids. But I couldn't forgive him. Forgiving him would have been a betrayal of myself. Today, when I look back on that time, I ask myself, how could you have been so blind? Why did you stay silent for so long? But the truth is, I didn't have the courage to see the real face of the man I loved. I was blinded by love. Now I'm trying to build a life for myself and my children, despite the difficulties. Financially, we still struggle, but at least we have peace. The regret I carry from my past taught me the harsh realities of life. Unfortunately, it took a devastating collapse for me to realize how strong I really am as a woman. This story is both a confession and a lesson for me. Love can blind us, but the truth never disappears. It will eventually come to light, forcing you to confront it in ways you can't avoid. Just like it did in my life,